it is elections.
Youth, elderly, and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year. Your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
Get your favorite health tips right here on U24.
Maintain your kidney by drinking 8 to 10 glasses of water each day. This can be in form of soup, tea, water, cooked grains, and boiled vegetables.
My name is Erica Murunchi and welcome to Be Inspired by Erica. So today I want to talk about personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is not just a habit, it is a way of life. By maintaining personal hygiene, you will reduce stress, improve on your focus, show respect for yourself and others around you, to the people around you. Take care of your space and your life. Keep your room tidy, wash your hands, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, brush your teeth, and many others. Take care of your space and your life. Brush your teeth, make your bed, bathe, cut your fingernails, comb your hair, and many others. Make cleanliness a habit. Personal hygiene should be a priority. Cleanliness is next to godliness. Stay blessed. Much love. Thanks for watching.
Don't miss on U24.
Entrepreneurs Hub, giving you a deep and unique insights into agribusiness, services, ICT and innovation, industrialization and so much more. Entrepreneurs Hub, growing your small, medium and large business entity. With yours truly, Sandra Kahunde.
Hi, my name is Doreen Tuhidire, coming to you from Be Money Wiser, and we're going to be bringing to you the hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser by Mrs. T. Tilda Nabandra. We're going to be running this hashtag 100 Ways to Be Money Wiser on U24 television. Don't miss out.
U24.
To my YouTube channel, follow me on Instagram and Facebook. They all come in the names of Erica Murunji. God bless you. Much love.
Youth voters on your wallet.
Youth, elderly, and persons with disabilities. It's time to choose our leaders. Let's show up and participate in the special interest group elections. Starting June through August this year. Your vote, your voice. My vote, my voice. This message is brought to you by the Uganda Electoral Commission.
Youth of Purpose.
those spaces that has the largest number of young people. So today's conversation is around youth of purpose, but we are looking at the aspect of electoral reforms, electoral processes, especially for the special interest groups since inception, but also what are those reforms that would suggest along the conversation and where we are today. And of course, joining me is a very interesting panel, and starting it off from the far extreme left is Sisi Nafula from Namayingo district. Sisi, you're welcome. Kindly, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Treslin. My name is Sisi Nafula, Etarali Namayingo. I am a female youth councillor for Banda Sub-County, also vying for the position of female youth councillor for my district. Interesting.
Thank you for joining us, Sisi, tonight in this conversation, and we hope that you'll be able to unpack the conversation, especially on you as a young person. How have you been able to reach the district level where you are today in the ongoing elections? Next to Sisi is Bossa Price. Bossa, please, if you can introduce yourself to us.
Thank you so much, Tresilin. My name is Bossa Price, and I am a recent student of Makerere University Law School and waiting graduation as a lawyer. I am glad for this opportunity. I've been a student leader in Makerere University for all the years I've been there, engaged with youth, students, and various political party activities. I believe that with that youth activity background, I'll be of great resource to this very insightful conversation. Thank you. I look forward to it.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Bossa, for joining us again. And we hope that from your experience, especially as a leader from the institution, we have a saying that Makerere is a bedrock for most of the young politicians that we have transitioning to the national scene. So we do hope that you shall be able to add quite a lot of insights in this conversation. And next to Bossa is our very own, very common face. I think we should start saying you don't need an introduction, but please, for our first-time viewers, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Treslin, for that introduction. My name is Mujisha Imanzi. I'm a youth Pan-Africanist, and I'm glad to be on this show and contributing to the topical discussion of the day, and I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Emanzi. And to start it off from Sisi Nafula, you clearly told us you are a youth leader in Namayingo, and want to have your perspective of where do you think the journey for young people in participation of elections is at this point, but also to break it down for us in the structures of how you're able to get to the district councillorship that you are on today, maybe some of the challenges that you have faced as a young person, but also some of the aspects that you think have made you become stronger.
Thank you so much, Treslin. You know, there is something crazy about the question being so packed and omnibus. It makes the person answering at times answer a bit of it and forget the other bit of the question. But, oh yes, I have been able to navigate the structures up to being at a district level right now. To start with, I always relate the youth election or the youth participation in politics to the participation of women. On the look of things, people look at it as they have given us platform, we are out there, we are having positions, but when you look into the thing or you try to get into the youth politics itself, you realize that it's actually, it is a hoodwink, where they make you feel like you have a position, but then the position is actually, it doesn't weigh. So, you know, we are in such a time where I always say we are the ignored majority, where according to the concluded census, we know very well we are 70% of the population, but the participation of the youth in politics is limited to, should I say small things? Not that, because the structures, to start with, are quite hectic. Like, they have made a participation. Remember, we are coming in as affirmative action something, because we did not have platform in the first place. So it comes in as affirmative action, and you know, where you're having one position for a male youth councillor or female for each sub-county or district, something like that. But then the structure of how someone gets there is quite long. It gets hectic that the youth that are intended to participate in actually fall out along the way. And some of them do not participate because of the length. I know you have been in such things and you know what it means, having to, like for me right now, as contesting youth councillor NRM ticket, I always tell people I have to go through a minimum of 9 elections to be able to be voted as a female youth councillor at my village, parish, sub-county. Like it is so lengthy that if you're not patient with it, you end up leaving it out. And when very many people leave it out, you realize that in the end of it all, you get leaders that are, should I say, the ones that just held on, but at times not the best. The value is left out because of the too much that you should invest in the election. Look, all those elections from parish, now like for the people who come with parties, NRM, the NUP, and so on, there is an election in your party and then a general election. So think of an election at a village, 2 elections, an election at a parish, 2 elections, sub-county. By the time you run to district level, it's already hectic, it's already tiring, and at times we do not really get the people that would have gotten if it was just open like the directly elected seats. So you realize that the other thing that I always look at in the perspective of the youth election, you realize, like I earlier said, we are 70%, but how are we the ignored majority? There are people that are in various districts. This is not just for Namayengo, but very many districts, like, because when you relate with other people that are vying for the same position, you'll hear the same thing. They have these, what we have branded as godfathers and godmothers in youth politics, where people do not vote someone because they can represent them. They do not vote someone because they have the voice of the youth, but because there is a godmother or godfather bringing that person. The godfather comes with money, with the influence, and people are voting whoever they are voting because there is someone that has brought them into politics. So you realize that there are people who would have been capable leaders, people who would have led the youth to being heard as the majority that has been ignored, to being heard and getting there as the influential majority. People end up breaking off because there are people who have come on the scene of politics and they are not willing to move off. And even when it comes for their time to move off, they would rather bring a son or daughter to now be influential in youth politics. So those are some of the challenges. There is a lot of money, a lot of influence from the elders who are not youth. Some even brand themselves as senior youth. I sat in a meeting one time and there was a man of around 45 years, and when he was introducing himself, I was like, oh, youth, I'm happy to be here with you. I am a senior youth. And in my mind, I was like, what do you mean senior youth? Leave us to decide our things. We are the majority in this country. It is time for us to decide our future.
Okay, Sisi, before I get to Bossa, maybe you mentioned that one has to go to around 9 elections. But also, what is your perspective that even in those elections, you do not have every young person actually vote you, yet they want you to represent them? You have a segment of so-called electoral college vote. What is your perspective on that? And do you think there could be need for modification or not?
I actually think there is need for a reform. You know, it's already too late. We cannot have it for this particular election, but in the next elections, this is what people that reason for us in the parliament should be looking at. Because if there are youths of a particular sub-county that I'm representing, now me, like right now, I know I'm going to represent youths of Namayengo district, but at my village, I have around 189 voters. At my parish, there are around, like the people who go to parish, around 27, then the sub-county. Then by the time I reach district level as a youth councillor, I have around 450 voters. So the 450 are taken to be a representation of the thousands of voters in Namayengo district, which at times is not the outlook of what, like the 450 may not represent the real idea of what the thousands of youths would have thought would be their youth leader.
Interesting. I thank you, Sisi, for that. I'll get to you, Bossa Price. From a perspective of the young person in the opposition specifically, what is it like to be in the youth structures? And particularly that we have the National Youth Council, which most of the people have said National Youth Council is for NRM. What is your perspective in that line? But also, how does it look like in terms of formation structures for young people in the opposition party?
Well, that's quite an interesting topic. Thank you for it. To pick it up, actually, you'd realize that it even stems back to what my sister Sisi talks about. You realize that youth are the most in the country, and yet institutionally, there are limited positions that are provided for example, in the National Youth Council, and then the youth MPs, around 4 of them, and then the National Female Youth MP. You realize that, for me, the youth are looked at as special interest people, and yet we are the majority. I think that is not enough. I think, for me, that is a personality or a leader institutionalizing a majority of the people into a unified group which they can monitor, which they can control their what? Political views, manage them, right? Because why has the National Youth Council turned into a center for only NRM people? Because it is true. It is not easy. It is not an easy thing for an opposition politician to make it in what? Politics in the National Youth Council. Why? Because of the finances that are involved. Because in the National Youth Council, which is greatly funded by the NRM, you realize that these candidates get a lot of money compared to what can be given, for example, by the National Unity Platform. But we are grateful that the National Unity Platform has come onto the stage. However, for me, I think this is a hoodwink at the end of the day, because we cannot manage what we are doing there. What should be the interest of youth at the end of the day? Should it be participation into already a corrupted system? For me, I think not. I find the National Youth Council as a part or an institution that is organized or was formed to curtail the views of the youth. And what is the interest of the opposition? Opposition youth. Youth that are striving to liberate this country. It is because we want to change the performance of government. And within the National Youth Council, we cannot do that. We are not going to manage curtailing mismanagement of resources within the National Youth Council. We are not going to deal with issues of unemployment within the National Youth Council, because this National Youth Council has been here for over decades, now 3, right? But issues of unemployment are still there. Issues of corruption have been there all the time. And for me, I think that with the coming of Bobi Wine in 2021, it sent us a picture of the youth galvanizing or being at the front line of liberating this country. Now, when you tell me that our fellow youth want to join this fellow corrupted system into changing it, it sends very many questions. I do not understand how you're going to do it that other fellow youth have failed to do. For me, I think that the only solution to this country is the youth coming to challenge that system, not from within, but from the outside. Beat it down. That is the only way. The biggest problem of this country is the government not prioritizing the issues of the youth, which is unemployment. A university student goes to university for 4 years and lives without employment. A university student goes out there and they are having casualty labor, like poor wages. There's mismanagement at work. Like, our issues are not out there. And yet we have a National Youth Council. For me, I think that it is already a failed system. What the youth should be focusing on right now, and I will tell it to all youth at this moment, that we need to liberate this country. We need to be frontliners. And to do that, we cannot do it within the system. That system was organized to curtail our political views as the youth. You're not going to challenge Museveni in the National Youth Council. You've definitely failed to get that position. But from the outside, we can do it relentlessly, just like I'm doing now.
So, Bossa, You remind me of something. A friend of mine actually was running under NRM in some district in the east. But because there was a young person who came through under UPC, she was unable to make it. So don't you think that sometimes joining what you think maybe has issues could somehow liberate what you intend to put across? Or is your perception that, no, you do not have to be in this space? And if not, what best or what different are you offering?
For me, I will tell you this. I'm someone who has seen my fellow friends crossing from the opposition to join the NRM. What is their position? There are very many, and you know that. I have been very relentless about these people. I disagree with it completely. But you know, what is their best solution? What is their best explanation to this? For them, according to them, this is the best way to liberate this country. But I will tell you this, just like before, Bobby Wine, when he entered into the political industry, he came with two things, the youth and the entertainment industry. The entertainment boomed so much. And you know what the government and President Museveni used to curtail it? He appointed the deputy, Butcherman, Catherine Kusasira. They all became presidential advisors to make... you guys know this. It's funny as it is, but it is the truth. Yeah? It is funny as it is, but it is the truth. But what was the purpose for it? Not to have, it's not what value Butcherman was bringing to the party. No. It was to make sure that the entertainment industry itself fights itself. Internal politics. That is why I'm telling you that when I see my young people doing all that sort of ruckus and joining and moving out from the opposition, I think it is a fight within ourselves. I want to tell young people that there is not a single thing they will do in the opposition. It is outside that we can challenge this government.
Interesting. Getting to you, Emanzi. We are discussing the role of young people, but we well know that political parties are vehicles that have been used even within these formations that we are talking about. That politics of I identify as NRM, I identify as National Unity, a Unity member, I identify as JEMA, are still fundamental. Now, to bring you in, give us your context in regards to having political parties as vehicles and their formation and the role that they play in this context of young people.
All right, thank you so much, Tracy, for that question. Firstly, world over, in the absence of knowledge, ignorance and assumptions prevail, and they take center stage, right?
Yes.
So you cannot pour something that you don't have. You cannot pour into something else. When we look at political parties in Uganda, let's have a very brief historical context. When we had the initial political parties in Uganda, the pre-independence political parties, we had the Kabaka Eka, the Democratic Party, and mostly the Uganda People's Congress. At that point, when you talk about the aspect of the politics of identity, at that time it was at its prime state, when we had a certain section of the DP bloc, which was known as the ones that were inclined to Catholicism. And the UPC was the Anglican side. Okay?
Yes.
This is already a wrong structure because it starts a revolution on a poor seed, a bad DNA. Why? Because the politics of identity was designed to split people on ideas of race, religion, and other social would have been binding factors. So for us to have political parties now, which have youth leagues that are, one, non-cohesive, two, poorly funded, if at all funded, three, there is no deliberate training structure and mechanisms for the youth political parties. Sorry, the youth in the youth groups, the youth political parties. But also, most importantly, me particularly want to look at the will. Do our leaders have the will to say that I am having a group of these young people who subscribe to Party A? I have seen potential in her. I have seen potential in you. Can we nurture this group to come as the new breed of leaders that are going to transform our country into the next level of development that we want? Because that has to be intentional. Nations that have grown, developed, and are now giving us aid have done that prior. There has to be that intentional training of young people that are going to take on the leadership of the country in the various sectors that uphold the state as a country. Mostly, one, in the private sector. How many young people have been deliberately trained to lead the private sector in Uganda? 2, security. Any country is as strong as its security infrastructure there is. So, where are the young people that are part of the security organ thinking, the security organ thinking DNA? Or are we, the young people, just used as they give you the order, you go and execute whatever it is, then you come back? In the army, they say, sorry, in Swahili, there is a saying that, in the army, they say, Oja ni moja, complain badai. The order is one, you will complain later. And if these are the young people that are being pushed to participate in, say, actions that contradict the values that we stand for as a people without even looking at any political bias, then there is a fundamental problem. Where are the young people that the nation is categorically training to say that these are the new breed of leaders that are going to revolutionize the agriculture of our country, Uganda being a country that relies on agriculture? Huko wapi? We don't have this. So, for me, the question is not so much about the structures that are in place. The question to me is so much about the provisions of the structure they are in. If we have a national party like the National Resistance Movement, which has been in power for almost 40 decades, okay, and we ask a question that when they were abrogating the constitution in 1995 and they created the special interest group where young people, the youth, fall under into that category, and they created the National Youth Council as an organ of the state, and it has not been funded equitably as compared to other MDAs, ministry departments and agencies. What is this supposed to mean? Because if you see, you have a population of more than 72% of young people, okay? But this population is not represented in the what we call the corridors of power or the centers of power, which are, one, the executive. Because when you look at the way the executive is designed, the few young people that are there, I'm not so sure it is a merit-based initiative or it is a appreciation token. You get my point?
Yes.
So, and I think this is why we have to draw the line and we become intentional regardless of what political party. If we agreed that as a state, on the 28th of July 2000, we agreed to, 2005, we agreed to a multi-party political dispensation system to a tune of 93% of voters who said yes, let us go back into political parties. We agreed on that, but was there a provision before that, that for every political party, before we sign you and give and gazette you, you have to have a clear and elaborate plan and structure for the young people in terms of, one, recruiting, training, offering apprenticeships and internship, okay? 3 or 4, being part of the decision-making organs of the party. So if these things were captured and into that law, we would not be struggling with what we're struggling right now. But all hope is not lost, because now that we start these conversations, it's a good thing that now we can actually invoke it in the people that are running for offices right now. And you say, no, Tracy, you're running for this office. But for us to even listen to you as the young people who have the majority block vote, we want A, B, C, D outlined clearly in your manifesto as an individual or as a position of the party. Because when the party is endorsing who's going to be its flag bearer, it hands them over a manual. A manual. You are seeing the books given, right? Those books have the manifesto of that party and what it intends to do when it captures or when it takes power, the mantle of power. So for me, I think it's a point of reflection to agree as young people collectively, regardless of our political affiliations and school of thought subscriptions, to say, no, as the young people, this is what we want. One, for every manifesto, we want the needs of the young people clearly stipulated on one, how they're going to be addressed, where the funding is going to come from, because we don't want to be lied to enough, and most importantly, how are you going to transform the struggle of the youth from passive participants in politics to active participants in politics? That's my 2 cents for now. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Getting back to you, Sisi. Bossa Price here mentioned something, but also I think Emanzi did tackle it in the aspect of when you offer yourself to serve, what's out there for you? But also, if we are talking about aspects of young people saying, we want Chigati, we want money, we are not fronting really ideas. If we ourselves as young people really feel to have given up in the aspect of how am I earning, mfunira muwa kind of thing. And I know you could have faced that perhaps, but also Bossa mentioned that young people in NRM have the money. And now to you who ran through up to the district level, we want you to tell us, do you have the money?
No, I don't have the money.
So how best have you been able to also deal with resource mobilization?
Resource mobilization, Chigati, Mfunira Muwa, all those notions around youth politics. And I would love to say they are true. It's not a lie. Because it's not my first time participating in youth politics. In 2021, I participated. That is why I earlier informed you that I'm a female youth councillor at my sub-county and also the speaker there. And in my election, I saw it. Of course, you will get to some youths who tell you, you youths come once and you disappear. So in my area, they call it Twe Kutula. Eh? Like, Kutula, it's here. We are breaking it off. Give me this, I give you that vote. So, like, the things that, Bossa is saying it well in Uganda, like, in their area, they say Twe Jamu, like Twe Jiramu Wanu. So, this thing has happened in youth politics from time immemorial. But I think it's our role as the new brand of youth leaders to say no to this Chigati thing. Because the Chigati thing has caused a lot of, should I say, bad kind of representation. People who, right now, when you look at, looking at youth politics, look at the bigger view. The various youth councillors, the people on the NYC level at the districts near us. Now, like me from Namayingo, of course, I speak for districts like Busia, Bujiri, Namayingo, Bugweri, because those are my neighbors. So when I talk of youth councillors, I have met with some of them, I really see. And at times you get to the ground itself and you realize that, yes, the youths in your district or the youths in a particular area, sometimes they choose Chigati over value. Yeah. And when they are done choosing Chigati over value, they see the effects of their choice of Chigati for all the 5 years. Like, you simply do not have representation because you chose Chigati. And the Chigati there, Bossa said that the NRM has money. You know that Chigati in most of those places is not the Chigati you people see here in Kampala. I've been with you in Makere. When you talk of Chigati, we are meaning real Chigati, yeah? Like real money. In those villages, in those youth politics, people buy these votes for as low as 5,000. And someone is selling their 5 years for 5,000. You know, I have been doing this in very many places I've gone to because this whole week I have been in Namayingo. I've just got to Kampala today, like 1 hour back. And while in Namayingo, I have been telling youths while I was doing my campaigns in parishes, I was telling them, we are coming to you. Like David said in the Bible, I do not have like, you come to me with horses and chariots, but I come to you in the name of the Lord. And in the name of the Most High. And sincerely, youths have been laughing at me when I'm mentioning these things. Like I tell them, I am coming to you, not with Chigati, not with anything, but it is by the Lord's grace that I'm here, number one. And number two, I am here to serve. Number three, I don't have any chigati. But number four, I am a lawyer. I will represent you. Those are words that youths in those villages don't want to hear, actually. Because they feel like you are making them miss out on someone that will offer chigati. Because the perspective is that what the youths that have been in these positions have branded us as, they have branded it as people always come, and after the election, they disappear until they come next time for another election. So this is what has been created in the minds of the youth, that if we are to vote you, then che kutulire wano. So what is our idea of this? Like, what should we do as now the people that are there? Number one, let's fight the chigati. People are going to come with a chigati, but let's relay our manifestos. Like, the best we can do this now, as who do not have the chigati, the best you can do is look for the votes. I have a mentor in my district who has always told me, Sisi, in the journey of politics, you look for votes, look for votes, look for votes. Like, you have to read things. You know, there are people who will see you because you know the elections, not like for the NRM, most of them, even the National Youth Council, they are by lines. You know, there are these people who you have benched on, you have sent them messages, you have called them, you have talked to them. At times they will look at you on that day, they look at your line, and okay, yes, they have received chigate from the other end, but they be like, nah, yeah, no. Okay, she has been with me several times. So me, that would be my encouragement to the youths that are running. Let them look for that voice. Let's try. Chigati is there, but we can fight this thing because it is bringing us bad leaders. It is bringing us people that are not representing us. And we know we have been misrepresented for a very long time. Yes, of course, half a loaf is better than none. Some people have really represented us well, but the majority have represented us badly because we chose chigati over value.
Wow, young people out there, do not choose chigati over value. And look for votes, look for votes, look for votes, in the third voice of Sisi Nafula. Getting to you, Bossa, what needs to be done in all this? What needs to be done?
I'll tell you this, and I'll pick it up from where Sisi got it. She has insisted on working hard. But I'll tell politics, electioneering is twofold. It's either popular vote, electoral college. There's a reason I prefer a popular vote, because there are very many ways on which you can avoid giving people chigati. Electoral college, the very foundation of electoral college is finance. I'll tell you this. You see here, ran an election of our friend Navianda Solomon. They worked very hard. They got one vote. Herself, in the 2021 election. It's not enough to work hard. It is money. Yeah? It is money. You're going to work hard, but at one point, you're going to need to put money. And for me, that is wrong. It is wrong. That's why I disagree with all of it. Yeah? And you see, this is where the NRM and the government benefit from this whole system of electoral colleges. NYC, NRM Youth League, because they have created an opportunity for youth to create money. So much that even if one doesn't win, they will have gotten some money.
But Bossa, we also have GEMA Youth League, we have UID Youth League, we have youth leagues of PPP. What's different in those? Because if you're focusing on saying that those structures of the NRM perhaps are not doing what you think should be done, we also have those other structures in the opposition.
For me, and you see, I borrow some knowledge from some of my mentors like Semuju. I can never talk about fellow opposition political parties, because for me, we are running the same cause, even when for them they are divided. We're having people running parties, yet they are working in the government. For me, that is foul play in and of itself. But for me, my focus would be on opposition against government, right? And for me, I want to tell you this, Tressilin, that this is an opportunity for the government to curtail. Because at one point, this is politics. It's not politics of biology and ideology. Because you see, one time you're going to be a youth, and the next part you're going to be an adult. Yeah? What is going to be left? You say you've left for these young people a very bad message of money. Can we interest ourselves in aggression. We saw Rebecca Kadaga joining parliament, was it 1989? Yeah? She has represented the people of Kamuli for all that time. She used that opportunity of herself, her aggression, her knowledge, her intellect, to tell the people of the Eastern region that I am the best person. We have seen people who have been in parliament for so long. For her, that was her way. And at that stage of politics, that was it. But for us, do we have to join, if we want change, do we have to join the very government that we are seeking change that has failed to change it for 40 years? For me, I think not. Which change are you going to effect in a patronage military? Where, Mugisha said it already, there's nothing you're going to do about your views, your political opinions, when you're in the military. Once your boss says this, it's done. When they tell you to go and beat those opposition politicians, that's it. You get? So for me, I think the NRM has created structures through the NRM Youth League, the NYC itself, to beat us, to beat the youth themselves. Yeah? We are seeing opposition politicians or youth themselves fighting each other. You understand? And for me, I am kindly requesting youth out there that the youth themselves are not a problem. It is what we want. Joining the NRM, my friends who are joining, for me, I feel like it is a natural order. Maybe they are seeking employment because they are going to get the money and whatever. But where their political views actually lie, when I talk with Sise, when I talk with Alionzi, you realize that we are on the same page. We differ at the point where, how do I win this election? Now that's a politician speaking. Activism. We have failed on that. We have failed on our general role that we started with Sise. Mugisha, activism is where we should be focused. Thank you.
Okay, Bosa there thinks activism is what we should focus on, and Sise right there thinks a different approach, which we also appreciate because I think the idea of people's perspective and views, we all cannot really think of the same way, even when the challenges affecting us are different. But I equally think that the different views that we have could actually bring us different alternatives in the long run. So to get to you, Emanzi, in a space where we are talking about young people this political party, young people that political party, what do you think needs to be done as a wake-up call to make what you think is not right better?
I don't know, for starters.
Interesting.
Because, trust me, if I knew,
yes,
in all honesty, I would have changed it already because I've been having a lot of issues with, personally I have a problem, not a problem, but I have a couple of discrepancies in my head with what we call our democracy. Because when you listen to my fellow panelists, there is a pattern in our democracy where gaps and loopholes seem to have been deliberately created for some people or a group to capitalize on. And this is why I say that. Listen to me. Uganda, as a state, okay, is part of the East African community.
Yes.
And it is part of the African Union. Okay, now let's first expound this aspect of our democracy. In the 1960s, when the narrative in Africa at the time was, it is time for Africa to be free. It is time for Africa to gain its independence. We had Ghana get its independence and other countries all started getting independence. So it was like you mentioned, you used the terminology that I like to, I really enjoy. It's called the natural order. The narrative was Africa, it is time for independence. The generational leaders of the time, mostly youth, spoke the same language across Africa. I can tell you that in Nigeria, salaries of public servants were cut to send money to South Africa when South Africans were fighting apartheid. I'm using that example to try to show you what becomes of us, the African people, when we become intentional about a certain objective or a goal. So, that is the 1960. The narrative independence, okay? Now, post-independence time, that is where we had coups after coups after coups. Why was this? It is because we inherited a system. We had not yet learned it. We had not yet experienced it, and we had not yet had the SWOT analysis on it technically. So that's why we went into that ditch of civil war after civil war until the mid-90s. So those are 2 decades Africa lost. Why? Because of a system, democracy, as they gave it to us, and we embraced it. Now, fast forward, we are in this generation, okay? Young people are saying, you know what, guys? Enough is enough of these old systems that have been put in place to curtail us. Now, when the youth in Nigeria say, enough of SARS, the youth of South Africa, they join the EFF to say, we are done, we are going to support our people to get back their land. The youth in Burkina Faso say, no, you're not going to touch our man, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, because he is our hope. He is the one that is going to deliver us, the youth. He's our liberator. They're speaking the language. When you go just our neighbors next door here in Kenya, the young people are saying, hang in there, we've had enough. Now let's use maybe another language that has not been spoken for so long. He was talking about activism. But activism, being a multifaceted concept, is not necessarily running to the street, holding placards, throwing rotten eggs at our leaders. In my school of thought, that one gives you very immediate results. Hey, twabalaze fire, twabalaze eko, twabalaze man, and then you go back home, you're in prison, and scale, impact, 0, right? But the activism that comes from the point of collecting intellectual ideas to garner the what I want to call the center of gravity of what we are going to push as the youth of Africa, specifically with Uganda, is where is that is what to me is where the missing link is. Right now, if you look at the United States of America, which right now is the global superpower, right? What are the 3 main things they are looking at? 1, their richest man, Elon Musk. His biggest plan, dreams is to colonize Mars by 2035, right? Secondly, they are looking at bringing back all the jobs to America to reduce unemployment, bring back all the factories. 3, detain all these illegals that are bringing Kabila, take them back. No, that's a national agenda. That is what they are moving for. But here, when you come back here, General Museveni is talking about we are going to have an integrated East African community. All together. An activist is leaving Uganda, going to another country, they are being harassed, beaten, and heralded. Okay? And then, back home, internally, we are fragmented. Political parties are fronting who they think are going to be their representatives, but not on the idea of quote-unquote ideology.
Yes.
All right? But we are coming that no, Price has taken a long time on power. Get out of here. Let me Mujisha come and conquer. That is, it's a baseless to me. It's very baseless, and we shall keep replacing bad leaders with bad leaders until we go back to the drawing board. And the question should be, how do we go back to the drawing board? 1, we become intentional. We are intellectuals. We can write to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, which holds the Office of the Youth. And you can imagine the whole 72% of the national population, the demographic dividend of the young people. We don't even have an independent ministry. We are there, like a subsection, like a small desk. No. I think, 1, we need a bigger institution that prioritizes the needs of the young people. We should be housing the National Youth Council. We should be housing the National Students UNSA. Should be addressed there. And also, there should be a deliberate training wing, the Chankwanzi, for young, youthful leaders from that. And also, there has to be a deliberate kamane in government to support youth programs, especially with skilling to fight unemployment in this day and age. I would go on and on, but in the interest of time, that is my 1 cent for now.
Interesting, right there with Emanzi. Our time is unfortunately fast spent, so we are going to have your concluding remarks, and I'll start it off with Sisi. Sisi Nafula, please, your concluding remarks.
All right, thank you so much, Tresleen. In conclusion, there is a lot we can do as youth to liberate ourselves. As I earlier told you, we are the ignored majority. We are the majority, like according to census, even in your villages, when you look around, 1 to 3 youth, 1 to 3 youth, like we are really the majority. So it's such a time for us to set a pace whereby if there is anything that this government should do, they must ask of us. Like, what is our idea of it? If we can only come together and forget the things of political parties, let's have a similar language as youths. Let people come and tell us their ideas before we front them for anything. Do you want a position for LC5? Where are the youth included in your agenda? In your next 5 years, what are you thinking about as the youth? How many skilling centers are you thinking about? How are the roads? Because we are now getting into business. We want to do things like transportation and so on. How are the roads in our districts? The taxes, are they youth friendly? Like, those are the things that we should look at in our leaders. While they come and give us their manifestos, let's put Chigati at the back of everything. Like, forget it and think of where is our future. Because in the end of it all, in the concluded census, of course, we know the population and also the limit of age and the what we always call the life expectancy. Yes, it's at 67?
Around there.
Around 65, 67. So the youth, if all goes well, of course, God can call anyone at any time, but I'm saying if all goes well, because Ugandans, most of them die after 60s, but we still have a long way. Like, if we watch people do bad hospitals, bad roads, it is us that are going to be affected while we watch. Some of these people that are doing these things will be gone, but we will have the effects of these things. So it's such a time for us to get interested in the affairs of this country. The roads, the social services, the hospitals, because when the hospitals are not good, it's us who are going to die and our children, and we will watch them because we'll be alive. So it is such a thing that should interest us. Let's get interested in not only the politics, but the everything of this country, because it actually involves us and it affects us more. My name is Sisi Nafula. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Thank you, Sisi. Bosa, getting to you, your concluding remarks.
Thank you, Tracy. For me, my concluding remarks will generally capture. I love the spirit of Nafula here. The things she talks about, those are general concerns of what? Of the young people. But secondly, when you borrow from what my brother Mugisha is talking about, for me, the intention right now of the youth is survival. They want to survive. And that desperation to survive gets them into complicated situations, vulnerable situations, which make them end up participating in things that are not generational, that will fail us as youth people. The reasons as to why we are talking about youth today and maybe they weren't talked about as much then is because it is gross right now. When you looked at the walk-to-work protests then of Besigye that he organized and whatever, you could see that there were grown-up people participating in these sort of things. But you see, when corruption protests were organized, arrest prices, high cost of living, where I was arrested, and those various protests that went through, those were youth people engaging. That shows you that there are youth that are interested in this. And you know why workers were not engaging in such things? The workers around, and it was only youth from universities participating in that. It was because the workers, the other ones are already employed, but now these ones who are coming straight from universities are a failed state. So, my prayer to you guys, please and please, let us be intentional. Let the intention not be survival. Let it be a generational cause. It cannot be achieved in 1 year. Even Museveni took on this government after 5 years. We can also do something to liberate ourselves, even in 10 years or 20. Thank you.
Interesting. Imanzi, your concluding remarks on this?
Thank you very much. My concluding remarks on this is that I think it would be a recipe for disaster if we try to look for a one-shoe-fits-all solution to the problems of the young people that we are facing. Because them being multifaceted as they are, that calls for a multi-sectoral approach in how do we first of all, galvanize our ideas. Do we actually agree that the issues we are having are the same? Because when he talks about the issues the young people are facing, unemployment, Osanga, what she's facing is women not participating in politics. Probably my problem could be young people are not, into the money economy because of the very many stringent laws and all that. So for me, the question is to galvanize, to get one galvanizing magnetic pole as the young people. Two, young people, let's get out there. There are very many young people who have very many brilliant ideas, but they fear to speak out because of one, repression. Others are just shy because of an issue of confidence. And that is why we talk about the issue of training and, capacity building. So young people, get out there. One, participate, like she mentioned, in the civic duties of your country. Know who is your leader. Ask the tough questions. What are you coming to change? Where are you going to get the funding? How are we going to sustain this? And if they don't have the answers to your questions, then you have to reflect as a country. I'll say this all for God and my country.
Interesting. Thank you so much. It's been Youth of Purpose with me, Sisi Nafula, Youth Councillor, Namaingo District, Bossa Price, a lawyer and a youth leader, Emanzi, the usual one, the Africanist, if I may call him. And we've been basically trying to delve into the discussion of young people's participation in electoral processes, the challenges, but also how best they can be able to tackle the issues that they face. Take home is that young people, you are the majority, you have the energy, get out there and strive for a difference. And I've been Treslin Ankunda hosting this conversation. Thank you all who have been able to follow the team behind this show. We thank you so much. Till next time.
Youth of Purpose.